that's just rotate it clockwise like 1 degree, and then you just have to crop the outside.
Okay.
If like that's when you're in a pinch and you can't get back into Lumion or something, you know,
Okay.
but there's just other ways to deal with it. But
And
yeah.
one last, which, you know, could be hard, we're not seeing this, is make sure you set your options for rendering fairly high. There are only 4 choices in Lumion, and you want for your final presentation images to be using I forgot now, it's poster, and then there's the next setting. But you want to use a higher resolution setting if you're exporting from Lumion.
Okay.
Pretty much as high as you can get. It'll take it a couple minutes to do the rendering, but that's not much in the scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like typically vertical should be standing, so that one's definitely leaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the distortion of the camera, the very wide angle to be able to take in this interior. There's just
And the other thing I would say is like this chair is massive. But that's, I don't know, I'm just picking on stuff.
Sorry, what about the chair?
It's big.
Well, it's the focal point in this.
Yeah.
Again, it's the distortion of using this very wide angle.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
when
sure
you
if you-
try to get the seams, because in order to get that angle, you have to be like right where the window is, so it shows you like you are after the window, not before the window.
Yeah.
But it's what you get in photography, is that when you use a very wide angle lens, it makes the stuff closer to you seem larger. So it's usually a bad idea to take pictures of people with a super wide angle lens because it makes their noses look big. So the things that are closer to you get really, that's the problem, is you get distortion with the wide angle.
Yeah.
So you want to bring in a lot, but it's.
This is pretty up here. Light. Good.
Oh, I'm sorry. And you might want to try Romina and other folks that are, not that you all have to do this. I like this realistic rendering, but there are some other non-photo realistic rendering styles that you can use, like colored pencil or watercolor, and you might want to just see what those look like.
I actually looked at those. They look very nice.
Yeah, they potentially could. You know, it's worth. It's a quick swap, just to try it.
Nice. Right, let's look at S's and we'll move on to InDesign. This looked great, Essa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And the composition is beautiful. I mean, it's 50% sky, and usually I would say no, like, but I think it works. I don't think I would add any people. I don't think I would.
No, not at sunset. And that's really an effective, I mean, John did a very good job, and that's an extremely effective use of a SketchUp model imposed and placed in a photograph.
Yeah, for SketchUp, right? It's not even Lumion.
No Lumion, not necessary. And a lot of nice detail in your model. And
so
wow,
these were built by scratch, these bolts? I guess, right? Yeah.
So that's really nice. It's also like some of the photographs that are out there of the actual building. But I have to say, you guys have really convinced me. There's, now that we've done this, is, maybe a lot of you will gravitate towards wanting to use something like Lumion, but this is really effective. I mean, this really gives the feeling of this project really clearly, with using a really careful background in Photoshop and the right lighting.
Yeah.
Very convincing. I, you know, I wouldn't, I wouldn't, it's great to use Lumion as a tool, but it's really not necessary now that I've seen the work that you folks have done.
How did, Essa, so what like kind of sunsetting, like how did you get this to look like it's in the evening actually, the SketchUp part of it? Is that Photoshop work or did it come out of
It was
SketchUp?
both actually. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so I had to change the sun to like a high sun, like in the middle of the day, I think, like 12. And
Yeah,
then when I brought it in Photoshop, I just darkened the highlights and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you're saying that, you're absolutely right. It's an overhead sun,
yeah,
but you've worked on the highlights, and that's what makes it look right.
yeah.
It's moonlight. It's illuminated by moonlight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything to it. I think it's done.
Mm.
Okay.
If we were in the classroom and we were printing, I would say maybe the whole thing needs to lighten up a little bit because in general, and we haven't been saying this, but when we print, everything prints, I always say about 15% darker. And I think this is just right. So I think when it prints on a board, it might be a little too dark.
Mhm. Okay.
But we're not going to be printing, you know, maybe when we return, we'll print some stuff for our next show, whenever that's going to be exactly. But I wouldn't do anything to this.
Thanks.
Yeah, we have to see the other images to decide if, is this the main image or is this a supporting image? I think it could be a main image.
I was gonna do an interior view and then like one of those ones that's like on the hill.
Yeah,
So like the isolation of it.
yeah. And you all have to, you know, fight with getting similar backgrounds, similar terrain. I mean, you don't have to do the night, but you have to find something that complements. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard. This is kind of a hilly cow pasture kind of look that you might find anywhere in England or Ireland, perhaps.
Mhm.
But it has to, you know, they have to relate. We can't be, you know, because you do have some specific stuff going on over here with like the earth turned up. So just be aware of that. You know, we don't want to look like the house is moved.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if it comes to it, and I'm definitely not saying like this needs to change, but like this, you know, if it had to change, you could just trim off the bottom and push this back a couple feet,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because this is really the most specific part. And then you got this kind of outcropping of rocks, but just everybody has to pay attention to that so that your landscapes aren't, you know, painfully noticeably different. That's all I would say, but no, beautiful. Great. Comments, questions, concerns? All good?
I have one question.
Yep.
For the third rendering, is it a separate rendering in itself, or is it us redoing the ones that we already did?
Separate is the intent.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to fill a whole board, so separate.
So for the yard house, do you want us to do the elevation, and how will we do the background for it?
Oh, I mean, the elevation is for the yard house is pretty boring. I mean, I don't know. You really, it's a little tricky, but yeah, you need to find a third view, and it may be just as simple as looking at an angle across the space, and then one looking just straight up the stairs.
This is the one Joyce is working with, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something inside, something from the courtyard. And something from outside the wall, perhaps?
There's not much to see outside.
Yeah.
So I would try one more interior view.
Oh,
A
right, yeah.
different angle. Maybe one, one with the stairs at an angle, one looking straight up the stairs.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, that
You
way.
think? Yeah.
Yeah, just in general that way and one more out. Yeah, it could almost be the same location, kind of. Just
You're just turning a little bit, so it's a little hard. It's a tight space, so the more that we can see, the more if we, it isn't redundant to have two images that maybe are from the same place. Like this one's good, and then there could be one that's coming at it much more from an angle, like one of the others we've seen,
yeah, going.
and looking more across the space and out into the courtyard.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the share. You're gonna talk about boards, Michael, and InDesign?
Yeah, board, InDesign, a couple things.
I'm gonna step away for a few minutes and put the pooch out. Before there's an accident, okay?
Yeah,
I will return shortly.
okay.
Excuse me.
So one thing I wanted to go over is, before we even assemble the boards, is bringing, and maybe you folks have already done this, bringing the PDFs, your PDFs of your AutoCAD drawings into Illustrator. So you saved it. I've already done this, and I'm having some problems. So technical issues. So I brought in John's CAD drawing because it's also a very nice drawing. And I just went to File, Open, and I can open the PDF within Illustrator. And then just a couple of things I need to tidy up, like this mark of shame that is produced by a student version. And oops, I clicked too many times.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. File. Let me just do this. And great. Share screen and okay, great. Okay, so I just opened this in Illustrator, and then I selected the edge that has the stamp. And let's see, do this again. There, gone. No more stamp of shame. And then I can go down here. So this was good for your submission, but I can get on this and take out this block because we'll want to put all of our lettering in InDesign. So I'm going to delete this. Oops, I need it all delete. There. Okay, so I cleaned that up a little bit. It wasn't that it was wrong for your submission, it was just wrong for what we want to do with this. And then I could start to rearrange these guys. Let's see. So that just balances out the sheet a little bit more. And this guy's a little, well, we'll just have to leave him. So that's this little bit of processing that we want to do in cleaning it up in Illustrator. And we could also add some colors and things and do other work with Illustrator, but this overall is working really well. So I'm going to file and save this. And yeah, mine just previews what it will look like once I save a PDF. Okay, so let's take a look now at bringing this into InDesign. So I've set up a 36-inch wide board that's 24 inches high. So it's bigger than the last one. It's twice as big. And I can start bringing in images. One other thing, which I tried to do, kind of ran a little short on time, is to try to get all of my images that I'm bringing in, to get them organized and in one place, or in places I can find them, places that are logical. So I'm just going to go to now File and Place. And
alert from InDesign.
forgive my computer, it talks to me. Okay, open. And we may decide to make this even bigger. So in order to do that, I have to hold down. Whoops. So I hold down the Shift and the Command key to resize this. And you may decide, you should really kind of sketch out where you're going to, how you're going to do your layout. So, and then I'm going to go to File and Place. And I'm going to use Mr. Altland's Photoshop file. And I'm going to go to View and Screen Mode Preview. Just to see what this looks like. And let me make sure I can see. So we could set up a series of then smaller renderings as a column over here as a possibility. One thing is, except that I made a change to it, we could also put some background behind this sheet. So it's not necessary, but happened to it? And I might want to adjust that gradient. I just put that in. But I also want to go to layers, and I really should have set up layers. So let's move this guy down. And actually what was kind of interesting about, and you can see the PDF file is transparent. And actually Mr. Outlone's, his image, if I go back and change it, actually has a little bit of a transparent background to it as well. And let's see, edit original. Okay, and let me, okay, that didn't quite change it the way I expected. All right, well, and you can adjust the gradient. So this is similar as in Photoshop. And that might be effective. I can also do the angle. So I'm not saying that you should do this or do things with the background, but you can. I'm going to go back to, I'm not going to delete it, but I'm going to turn it off. Layers. And okay, and let me see. So we also have some text that we want to include. So you need to remember this is a case study. Give the full name of this. We're going to make this pretty big. Okay, so about 60 point, you could probably even go a little bigger, but look how this is sitting. And it's a 24 by 36 sheet, well, 36 inches wide by 24 high. You could also do it in a portrait orientation if you want, but either would do. Let me just align this. There. And then your main information, you're not, in this case, you're not quoting the architects, is what attracted you to this particular design? Like, why did you spend half these weeks working on it? So, something along the lines of this project features, and I'm sure I'll get these repeated, exposed wood frame that is articulated throughout. It borrows from a rural vernacular. These are all my fancy words. And for this size poster, I would take this down considerably, probably to 24 points. Let's see, what else do I want to go over? So absolutely, consider, particularly since we're not printing, think about a background, maybe a solid color background, or a differing background, a background behind these images that might be different than the rest of it, so that maybe these guys get a different color as far as their background. I should really be using, let me do layers. Layers in InDesign are pretty simple. So I'm going to rename layer 2 text. Layer 1 image. And then I'm going to add another layer. Layer 3 background. Move that down. So move the rectangle. Why is it not moving? Huh, that's weird. There. Move my rectangle. Come on. Guess it wouldn't let me move it when it was invisible. I'm trying to think what else. And obviously you want to do your lettering in InDesign, the captions. And the captions in this case should probably be 12 to 18 point.
Are we gonna take a look at the drafts that we sent for the presentation board?
Yes.
Okay.
And let me just zoom in on this. So there's a little, I have edit and spelling, dynamic spelling is on. So it's picked up that I typed elevation wrong. And then there. So this little error checker is you go to edit, spelling, dynamic spelling. Okay. It by default, I don't believe is turned on. It should be. So let me go back to view fit page. So we could bring in some additional renderings. And what I want to do is I want to stand, I'm getting up, as you can see. Hi, it's getting up. I'm standing back. I want to see how this reads at a distance. And you know, I think particularly because these drawings are really good, I think they're too small. I would like to make them bigger. So particularly when you're assembling a board, you need to step away from your creation every now and then. So Shift, Command, resize. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. And then this way, this really aligns with the image above. Let me see, what else? I didn't really prepare other images. I mean, I could bring them in. There were certainly some really good ones. But I mean, I would finish off this board with, you know, a nice column of two additional, but maybe slightly smaller renderings. Maybe this guy can get even a little bit bigger. We could afford that. This is the border. This is the printable border, and we're not worried about printing, so I could really pull this up. And stretch this. And Shift and Command. Leave a little more space between. And window, and remember you can put in non-printing guidelines. Yeah, so if that, I want to move this guy up. So you get an idea of, you know, once you have your ingredients, how you can put them together. And these, what's the advantage with InDesign is if you want to do something to the original image, they're linked images. So let me just go do something strange to Mr. Outline, his rendering. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right click. Whoops. I'm going to edit the original. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to delete that. And maybe I've decided that, although I like them just the way they are, that these guys are a little too transparent. But I'm going to try to get these. Again, it's a little tricky working with a file that isn't my own. Well, let me just. I don't know, I'm going to make it a ghost building. Let's see what happens. So you can see this gives you the flexibility by doing this in InDesign is you can keep going back and editing the original, so that we just have the link to the Photoshop file. This is a linked file, and I make changes in the Photoshop file. Like for some reason, making this a ghost building. I don't know why I did that. I did that because I wanted to show you it could be done. But you could do more radical work with this. So I'm just going to go again to View and fit Spread in Window and View and Preview. Okay, and then I'm going to go to File and Adobe PDF Presets. I just go with high quality print. I've created some other ones along the way. And that doesn't go under my stuff. It goes under. I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
You lose me?
Yes, we did.
I didn't like that.
It announces that the recording ends and then it resumes once you return.
Okay, it's a little weird. I don't know what's going on. It's giving me agita. Okay, what was I doing? That really threw me there for a second. What am I doing? Oh, I was about to export from InDesign. Okay. Hi. Test. And I am going to save this. And I'm just going to up to.
Professor, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, it threw me off. Let me. Yeah, when I got disconnected. Thanks for reminding me.
And are you recording?
Let's make sure that this is. Yeah, it's recording.
Okay.
Yeah, it is recording. Okay, so this is what it produced. And I can test this. My computer is set up that it automatically goes to whenever you produce a PDF, it goes into a preview mode. In this case, it's called Preview. It shows me what my PDF looks like. And so I can take a look at this and zoom. Yeah, and I don't really need to fuss with the settings. The resolution looks good. Okay, I feel nervous that I might get disconnected again. I was just wondering if there are any questions. I'll just go through that export one more time because it didn't happen while I was on the screen. So I've kind of zoomed out. I've gone to view, screen mode, preview. Normal is when I see all this stuff. But instead I'm going to go to view and screen mode, preview. I don't know why there isn't a keyboard shortcut for that. And that just shows it the way it will plot. File and Adobe PDF presets, high quality print, test 2, save. And there are a lot of other settings here. 600 pixels per inch, that's what we want. Marks and bleed, we don't have to worry about these guys. General. Okay, and export. So everyone can see this export happening. And bam, there it is. And the nice thing about, one thing we didn't get to in this particular, let's see, where's my pan tool? Okay. So one of the things that's really nice about, in this case, and this is just a little side note, we did not run our AutoCAD file through Photoshop. We didn't need to. We have one big advantage by not doing that. I mean, I did a little bit of work in cleaning it up in Illustrator. It stays what's called a vector format, so we don't have to worry about its resolution. So I strongly suggest that this is just for future reference, presentation, this presentation board, is unless you want to render your plans, elevations, or sections, that you don't need to take them into Photoshop. You can just bring them either directly into InDesign or edit them in Illustrator and preserve the nice crisp lines. So no matter how much we zoom in on this guy, the lines, like if this was an image, eventually the lines would break down to little jaggy guys. And I guess I could have set up a little experiment to show you that. But these lines, they always stay crisp. Just zoom back out. Okay, so it's not done. I'm liking the layout of this board. I would play a little bit with a background myself. I find the white background a little bit stark. I don't know. I'd like to maybe pick up the color of this board deck, but let me just switch back to InDesign. And let me see if the color picker is going to help me. It's a little dark. Okay, and I am going to and I have to remember to don't know what's going on here. Try it one more time. Okay, don't know what went wrong, but I'm going to try this again one more time. Rectangle. Okay, and let me do this. There. I don't know about that. I'm not completely satisfied. I'm going to go into a quick thing with transparency. Yeah, just a soft tone. View. Screen mode, preview. So I don't know, and then maybe there could be a soft gradient to it. Somehow, I guess what I'm really looking at is I would like you to try something other for this presentation, something other than a white background. And it could be an image, it could be a gradient. Remember, don't have it like before. The color I had really overwhelmed the image. So you don't want it to do that. So if I put this back, that's too much. But, you know, at about 50%, you know, that gives me now a little better presence. And I could also have done a gradient if I wanted to. So I'm trying to think, that's about all I've got for you folks. So we want to see your third, right, we want to see the third Photoshop image by Thursday, and we want to see your draft layout of your board.
I already sent a draft for the board.
Okay.
I thought we had to do it, so I just did like a little draft.
Okay, well, I'll take a look at it. But yeah, it's not, that wasn't, we thought we had enough on your plate for today. So everyone is clear, like how you're going to bring in your PDF of your plan and section, how you can manipulate that PDF in Illustrator, how you'll bring in all these other elements. I mean, so this is what's really, oops, cancel. And let me go to view and normal.
And don't forget name,
Right.
all that, class, term, all the usual stuff. Don't wait till the end for that. That's part of the composition.
Is the board the same dimension as the last board?
No, this is bigger, 24 by 36 or 36 wide by 24. You could also do it in a vertical orientation.
Yeah, I did mine smaller. I didn't
Okay,
know.
well, you know, it'll work. It's just that we have a little more, we with 3 renderings, we've got a little more information. We've also got more detailed drawings. So the whole thing really should be bigger. So 24 by 36, that gives you a lot of room. Remember, white space is a lovely thing, or not necessarily white space, but open space can be good. You know, that there's an elegant layout, that things, you know, organize well. Not every inch has to be covered with images. Make sure to always keep a gap between images. Don't have them overlap each other. It just does not look good.
And if I could just share the screen for 2 minutes whenever you're done, Michael,
Yeah.
just on the subject of negative space.
Excellent. That's just where it's perfect. That's just where I'm leaving off, is emphasize the value of negative space.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing.
Just some of the CAD very, very quickly. You can see the CAD drawings now. Just some of them have too much negative space. So I'll just go through from the top. So that was Jonathan's, which is fine. Hector's and alignment looks good. So the question is, are these ready to be dropped in as is? And most of them are. I think Hector's could go right in. Joyce looks good. Looks good. Tau. Paula's in a couple different pieces, which is fine. So you just have to reassemble them and align them so they make sense. Lelani looks good. There's a good amount of space in between here, but it's not too much, but some have too much. Abdullah, you're going to have to rework things. You wouldn't just drop it in like this. And Romina too, you have these viewports that are showing. You typically wouldn't want to have all these little boxes. I mean, unless it was part of a theme or something that really worked, but in general, I would not have all these viewports showing. And so here on Abdullah's, you'd want to pick one of these sections and align, you know, maybe like the plan and the roof are together and these are on the side or something to that effect. But this is kind of a strange arrangement. And this one I think is worth going perhaps back into CAD with and arranging it in CAD. But some of them, so let me just move on. And if you have questions about your CAD, we could do that after. So here's Mina's. So yeah, turn off the viewports.
Yeah, I just did that. I always do that. I don't forget.
So those would go away. Those would go away. And if they're on two different sheets, they have to come in at the same scale. So just make sure they look good together when they end up on the board. Lyrics. Kira's looking good. And oh, Kira has another one. Okay. S's looks good. So we have to get rid of the student stuff. S is missing a scale, graphic scale, and a north arrow, but definitely a graphic scale. And Tatiana, so you have a little too much space, I would say. This is a bit of a gap. And then this detail, I don't know if it deserves to be bigger. Maybe it does, but I think there's a wide gap here. So you could, I don't know, unless you have a different opinion, Michael. I think this could come into InDesign twice, and then you just crop one for the plan, and then you crop another for this group. That's a kind of a short, quick solution. But just make sure that when they come in, you know, no large gaps, no viewports on. That's
Yeah,
all
I would agree. I think that, you know, I didn't really even show you that if you want to rearrange things and not have to go through Illustrator or redo it in AutoCAD, you can just put in 2 instances of the image and then crop them down.
Yeah. Ideally in life, you would have it arranged in CAD just the way it's going on the board. Keep it, you know, short and sweet and quick. But that kind of comes with practice, and it also comes with knowing the final product, which, you know, inevitably often gets adjusted. You know, your original thought might, you know, maybe originally you were thinking a vertical board, but then it turned into a horizontal board. So when you could set it up in CAD and be done with it, that's great. But if you can't, it could go all the way to InDesign, like Michael said, in 2 different instances, and just crop both of them. You know, instance 1, crop out everything except the plan. Instant 2, crop out everybody but this guy. All right, so no big gaps, no viewports that are on, and get rid of all this other stuff. That's all I had to add.
Great. And people want to see, what we were talking about in InDesign. I'll do that. So let's say, even though the spacing on this is fine, maybe I want to change the spacing of it.
You have to share, Michael.
I keep forgetting that. Just a sec. Come on. Okay, share. Come on, share screen. Okay, so are people seeing my desktop?
Yep.
That's good. That's what I wanted to have happen. Now I'm still having problems with my mouse. Okay. Okay, so what we were talking about is what we could do this with this guy. So I'm going to edit, copy, edit. Paste. Okay, so here's a second incident. So maybe you want to do something different where you want the images, the section and elevation over here, maybe they relate to the renderings. So anyway, what I can do is crop this down. And then crop this guy down. Okay, yeah, we lost these, and I don't know. Let me go back to. I don't know why I'm getting the weird background colors, but that just could be me. Okay, view, fit, spread in window. So obviously these guys need to be moved. I'm getting a weird display artifact. Guess it's maybe time for a new computer. Anyway, so there you go. But I also encourage you when you're in InDesign to always toggle the views. So go to view, screen mode, preview, and see how things look. And view screen mode to go back, work in view screen mode, normal, typically.
On a PC, it's just, I think, W to turn that on and off.
I think, that's right, it is W. As long as you're not in a text tool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right, I forgot that. It's the same on a Mac, W. W toggles it off and on. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is important to clean those boxes out because they read in your eyes as part of the composition, so.
Yeah, and things might look nice and neat and aligned with the boxes, but they may not actually be right. without them. So that is all I can think of for you guys.
Very good. Questions?
Did you guys say we had to do a,
When?
Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that, Isa. Everyone frozen? No,
I could hear.
I can hear too.
Like
I
Isa
can hear.
was.
I didn't catch that question from Isa.
can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, do we have to write our own text? Or
Yes,
can we get it from Arch Daily?
no, this time you have to write
Oh.
your own. What do you like about, basically, what is it about this building that appeals to you? 2-3
Hmm.
sentences max,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Not much.
And that's good practice for your portfolios. Always
Mhm.
always write 2 or 3 sentences while you're working on it so that when you get the portfolio class, it's done.
Okay.
And you might also, particularly for this project, the hut, you may include one of your images, maybe with the roof removed so we can see the wood framing.
Oh, that'd be
And
interesting.
that, that really helps tell the story of this
Mhm.
project.
I was gonna do like one of those
Yeah,
empty views.
yeah,
Can I add like a description to those too?
you can.
Okay.
It can be really brief, the framing, but to me, that is what's appealing. I mean, each of them, I could do my editorial piece. Each of them, what's really appealing to me about this project, the hut that so many people picked, is the way that the wood structure is so clearly and beautifully expressed. And then just the way that roof sits and feels very sheltering, and the way it relates, although it's very carefully detailed in design, it relates to farm buildings. That's why I used rural vernacular utilitarian sheds. And what I love about the yard house is that wonderful kind of quality of light that comes in through the courtyard and through the sort of the clear stories that are on the interior. And what I really like about the lounge is that sort of fractured geometry of the way that it's kind of pulled apart so the two pieces are looking in different directions. And then the way that's sited on that hillside where, there's all of this nature around you that you feel like you can relate to and absorb. Those
I
are my,
also like, yeah, I also like the way in the lounge how the view is directed outward in one direction, very controlling, very generous on one side, but the other 3 sides are kind of really locked in. So controlled views, a controlled view, I would call it.
yeah, it really frames the views.
Yeah.
So, but you can craft your own words too.
Other questions?
And
Yeah, I got, oh,
no, I would and it would be really good so that we could edit them, is if you include those sentences, however rough they are, in your draft by Thursday.
Hmm.
Because I find this, I'm now talking as your portfolio teacher, where people really get tripped up is not with the images, it's with the words. So that's why we're just asking for a few sentences, but let's get them right. Not that I'm saying you guys won't, but that's usually where people get stuck. That's usually where people have a problem. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
yeah, I just have like a question since like we started the Zoom class today. It's still related to the scenes and to my project. You let me share my screen real quick?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if there's if we're wrapping up at this point, but
Okay, okay.
Before you,
So-
actually, Paula, before you share, Kira, do you have a quick question? Just let's let people go because it is time, but we'll
Yeah,
stick.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question, Kira?
That's about Lumion.
Okay, any general questions?
No. No.
Okay, all right, so we'll stick around for Paula's SketchUp and Kira's Lumion. Otherwise, you are free to go. We don't want to keep you past. If you want to stick around, feel free.
And then I'll stay for the AutoCAD.
Okay. Okay.
So
Sorry,
we
we're
got people
getting-
hanging around here. I don't know. Got to give them the little.
Yeah. I've got to get going in a little bit myself, so we got to move along. But all right, you're free to go. Otherwise, Thursday, get your submissions in and we'll rendezvous then. Okay, so you're free to go. Good work so far. Let's have a strong ending. All right, Paula, you're up.
Okay, so I just put like the perspective on, and I was wondering if this view is okay. I changed this this
Yep.
and I just put perspective in. I just want
Mhm.
if this is okay.
That looks good. It's a little high. I mean, I might expect you to be looking at this a little lower, your viewpoint, not quite as tall. So if you get the little eyeball tool,
You mean like
well,
this?
you could do that. Yeah, more like that.
Okay. Also, okay, so now for going into is that I'm having like problems. Layers, roof. So I put the little man in here. And once that I like, there was one day you show us like how to get almost like all of it. Like you see you did something like with the measurements or something like that, and it was like we could see the whole space almost.
Oh
But
yeah,
here,
sure. What we did was turn so you can make the roof visible again.
okay.
That's fine. Go back, yeah, check that the roof.
Mhm.
And this is pretty good, but if we wanted to see more, what you do is you go to camera and field of
view.
view,
Mhm.
field of view. And you look, and right now you could probably go type 55, wider angle, and hit the enter key.
55 enter.
Should do it. Yeah. So that creates a wider angle.
Okay.
Now, we may want to check our viewpoint. Looks like it's kind of low, and we might want to walk backwards. So it does change our point of view. So pick up, yeah, walk back.
Okay.
See, there you go. And then I would just get the eyeball tool, the look
Mhm.
the eyeball, and I would look up. I would move the view the other way. Yeah, up.
Like this.
There, so the vertical lines stay vertical. And you could look around a little bit, but I would keep it at basically that eye level.
Okay.
Okay?
And so for taking out like this line, the professor showed me, but I forgot. Like the outside,
Taking what?
like the outside.
The horizon line. We talked about it this morning for her project.
Mhm.
Those
Mhm.
styles.
Oh, if you don't want a horizon line,
Yeah, styles on the right.
yeah, it's under styles.
Okay.
And what you do is you go to edit.
Edit here.
And you go to the middle one, which is back the middle, no.
gray box.
There are
Oh, this.
5 icons
Middle. Yep.
and the middle one, background settings. And turn off the sky.
Okay.
Now there's no horizon line, you're floating in space.
Okay.
Now,
So now
the
I can
problem-
put like the background.
The problem is, because there's glass, is that's not going to give you a transparent background when you export it as a PNG file.
Oh.
Because that glass is going to come through as a pattern. So you can do that with the exteriors, but the interior is still going to is going to be trickier.
So should I remove like the glass so I can
No.
have like?
No, you're just going to have to be extra clever in Photoshop.
Okay. Okay, I see what I can do. All right, that was all.
Great.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Who else we got?
Kira.
Kira has a Lumion question, and I may, because that's gonna take me a little bit of work if I cough up Lumion, that may take a minute to do.
Could I take Romina's CAD question quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
Show your screen. I do have to get ready for another class, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's right here.
Yeah, so if it says not valid, I mean, you could Google